Hi everyone, this is Olga Adler from Austin Businesswoman, and it's our webinar number 3. And we're discussing a very hot topic for all entrepreneurs and not only. Do I need a website? And if yes, what kind? So I'm very excited about this webinar because I'm going to learn a lot from our experts here. And I want them to introduce themselves so we know what they do and why they're experts on this topic. I'm going to ask Danielle Langton to talk first.
Sure. So I'm Danielle Langton. I own Slagle Langton Co., which is a consulting and coaching business. And we help women-owned businesses create a life, not just a living. And what that actually means to me is I want women to have profitable, sustainable businesses. So businesses that are making money, but also allow women to have enough time to do what they want to do. And so we have to have businesses that are making money so we can pay ourselves and also have time freedom. So we do that through helping women have the right products, the right pricing, the right people, and obviously the right plan or strategy. I'm super excited to join this today because I'm not a web designer. I have no ties into convincing anyone that they need a website. The perspective that I'll actually bring to the table is more on the investment of it and the timing of when I think it's appropriate for business owners to invest in a website. So I'm super excited to share that. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining. This is why it's exciting because we have people from different industries talking on the same topic. Next is Liz Martinez Nelson.
Hi, I'm Liz. I'm a branding and website designer. So I do come from inside the website world, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I think everybody needs one right away. I too think that the timing is everything. And what I really stress when I am building websites for people is that you have your goals really clear and that your website is working toward accomplishing those goals. So I don't just throw websites out on the internet. I want it to matter and I want it to move the needle for you. So that's where I'm coming from.
Thank you. Next is Carissa Kabeletsky. Sorry if I mispronounced your name.
Hey, that was the original way that it was supposed to be done. So kudos.
Yes.
But yes, my name is Carissa Kobalecki. I own DM Good Marketing. And I kind of tailor to after you discuss and talk with these lovely ladies. So when you are ready to build a website, once you're done, then you can work with me. I work on optimizing your website on search engines. So Google. So when you're ready for, those leads to start coming in and for people to start finding you locally or internationally, wherever you want people to find you, we will put them in front of you. So that is pretty much what I do. I do a multitude of other things, but today SEO is going to be my specialty.
All right. Sorry, my microphone goes on and off. So yes, Carissa will help you get found if you have your website or not. And next is Jennifer Alt. Sorry.
Hi, everybody. Jennifer Alt. I'm a senior UX design consultant. I build growth-generating digital experiences that solve problems, advocate for users, and deliver results. So that could be a conglomerate of all these different pieces kind of coming together. What is that total experience for your user, your audience, whoever you're driving to, and what is that impression they're getting from your experience? Is it positive? Is it meeting their goals? That's kind of where I specialize in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very important because for a lot of us, our website, we see it from our end, but sometimes we don't know what it looks like from a third-party perspective. So it's important to know what impression you're making on others.
100%.
Excited to have you. Thanks. And next is Sarah Klein.
Yeah, hey everyone. My name is Sarah Klein. I'm a business coach, and I particularly work with early stage entrepreneurs. So by early stage, I mean you're in your first or second business and you may have started, but you're a little underwhelmed, surprised, and maybe feeling a little disappointed about you have less customers, impact, or influence than you thought you would when you first took that leap into the entrepreneurship world. So, what I really love to do is in 2021, where there's all the right things you should be doing for your business, I love helping each of my clients and everybody who comes into my orbit find the simple path forward for them. You don't need all the pieces to make your business work for you. You just need to choose your own piece intentionally and to focus to make it really work. And fun fact, I don't think anybody here knows this, but so this is my third business. And once upon a time, I actually owned my own branding studio because I come from a user experience and design background myself. So, hey, Jennifer. And what I noticed, the reason why I stopped doing that business and started my business coaching instead is because I noticed a lot of entrepreneurs were coming to me wanting to make a website to make them feel better and make them feel more legitimate. And that is not always in service of your actual customers. So my perspective on websites today is just going to be all about how you can just enter that mindset of what your people really need to hear from you, rather than creating something that makes you feel really great and legit for a second, but then doesn't really move the needle in your own business.
I love that.
Yeah, it's great to have a different perspective and just see the big picture. So a website is just a tool, and we're going to discuss how important this tool actually is. And so the last but not the least is Lori Kendall. Hey, Lori. Oh no, did she freeze?
Oh, there she goes.
Lori.
Sorry.
Back.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Sorry. My name is Lori Kendall, and I'm the owner of Brand Design Create, which is a creative marketing agency. And we focus on finding creative marketing solutions for small business owners and mid-sized business owners, depending on what stage of their business they're in. So sometimes that's a website, and depends on what kind of website, what stage they're in their business, and sometimes it's other creative marketing solutions. So we really focus on the needs of the business owner, where they are, what their budgets are, and what their goals are to make those final recommendations.
Great. Now that we have everyone, I wanted to remind our audience that regardless of the platform you are on, you can ask questions live and our experts can answer them. So I do encourage, if you have questions about your business, you can direct them to the whole panel, or you can ask individual speakers. In the meantime, let's go ahead and do a little survey. So raise your hands, all those who believe that every entrepreneur has to have a website from the get-go. Okay.
Surprising.
The webinar is over, so we're going home. We don't need it. All right.
I think the key word there was from the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. From the moment of birth of themselves or their business.
Yeah.
Then let's talk about. I'm gonna ask Danielle first to answer the question of, at what stage do you think a business needs to start considering their own website, and other cases when you just don't need it at all?
I definitely think I think there's two like answers to that. I think when you have regardless of whether you have like a product-based business or a service-based business, I think once you have your offers ironed out and you've put those offers out there. So if you have a service-based business and you say like, okay, I'm going to do these type of like coaching programs, and you've launched them before and they've worked well, and you like the people that they attract, and you like doing them, then you're going to carry on and do those things. And so then I would say, like, at that point, if you then wanted to like create a website because your offers are a bit more solidified, I think it makes sense. I think where people go wrong is they think my business isn't legitimate because I don't have a website, so I'm going to get a website, and you put these offers or products out there, and You may decide, just as every entrepreneur, and I don't think we talk about this enough, but we change our mind a lot. And I think it's okay. And so I think once you have these products or services and you feel really good about them and they've been selling, you have revenue, because again, I always want you to be profitable. I don't want you to just to be like spending all the money that you make. Then I think that could be a time in which it would be smart to invest. I also, and maybe this is a future question, I don't want to jump ahead, I also think there are smart ways to go about investing in like the website that you need early on versus a website that you need once your business is completely established. There's obviously websites for like $20,000, but in early stages, I think you can get a website for much, much less. And so I think there's different types of websites for different stages. But my answer would totally be, once you've got products or services that have been selling, people want them, they're generating revenue, then I would say a website makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So you first kind of put out the feelers, you probe your target audience, you find your why, and you get everything cohesive, and then you display it on the website.
Yeah, because if you put things out there, if you think, oh, everyone's going to want this, I'm going to put this on my website. One, nobody even knows about it. And two, they might not ever buy it. And so I kind of want you to have a bit of proof before you make that investment.
Yeah, that's a great point. Before you invest full on in your online presence, make sure that your business model is working at all. So thank you for this. And I wanted to ask Liz, because you do websites professionally, at what stage in their business journey do people usually come to you for a website?
All stages. I mean, I've definitely had people come to me for websites when it's appeared to me like they maybe didn't need it, but part of when you're ready to have a website is you feel called to have a website. Like if you really want it, and I think that this was touched upon earlier, if it does make you feel more confident in your business and more legit, like that's a legitimate reason to go and seek out a presence online. But people come to me in all stages. So I've redesigned websites that people have had for years and years and years. I've created brand new websites for people. I think like the question, does my business need a website, is tough, and none of us are going to commit to like a yes or no, because every business is different and every business owner is different. But I really like what Danielle said about being a little bit established and knowing that there is a want for what you're putting out there before you go and make an investment, because she has a good point. You don't want to spend money on something that, you don't, it's not going to move the needle in your business, and it's not going to serve your clients. So it's important to have some proof like that, like she said. But other than that, if it's a piece of your puzzle that you really want to have and you feel called to have that online presence, I think that's a good reason to go do it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And we have one comment from our audience. I'm going to show it on the screen. It's from Stephanie Jasinski. She's a member of Boston Businesswoman. Hi, Stephanie. And she's a massage therapist. So she says that some fields like massage therapy, licensed massage therapists can get a free website through most of their liability insurances. So there are options for the therapist when they're getting started. So for some businesses, there might already be an option to do it without, investing or searching for options. So that's a good point to start to see what you have available in your industry already. And I wanted to jump to the next question and ask Carissa, what do you think are the main benefits of having a website, if any? Maybe there aren't.
So, I mean, definitely reputation building is a huge one, a huge factor that you see. I mean, especially now with COVID, everybody moved digital. And so it's hard pressed to see people that are meeting in person anymore, passing out business cards, being able to build that reputation. A lot of it's done online now. And so I have noticed that so backtrack a little bit. I come from a commercial insurance world. So where this is kind of what pushed me into opening digital marketing. I've done digital marketing for my businesses for years. But I dealt with a lot of contractors, and when COVID hit, a lot of them lost their businesses because they're very, referral based type businesses and things like that. But something that I really noticed was that people were looking for that social proof, looking for that, okay, your website is your new business card, and so for me personally, I know that I'm very digital. Obviously, we're in digital marketing, so I'm very digital. So for me, I'm looking on Yelp, I'm looking on Google, I'm looking at reviews, I'm looking at their websites. I'm trying to see, is there a presence for them? Are they reputable? So I don't speak for everybody, but I know that I speak for myself that I do that. And so for me personally, I know that importance is huge. And so there's definitely benefits of having a website. And of course, there are some places that do provide, I mean, like most insurance companies, they all provide websites for their agents. But are they user friendly? Not all the time. Do they always get the job done? Not all the time. So it does help with talking with a website designer, do a website redesign, or even like a landing page is an option too. If you feel like your website is not doing what it should be doing for you. So for me personally, there's a lot of benefits to having a website. It just depends to make sure that when you're creating your website that you're building it around your needs, your industry, your services, and what your clients are looking for.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I completely agree. Great point. And now that you mentioned user friendliness, I wanted to ask Jennifer, what's the standard opinion in your industry? Do we always talk about user experience in terms of websites, or is it any other online presence, tools, platforms that you can utilize for that?
Right. User experience really is how a user's feeling through their site. What is the experience that they're getting? So to your point, Carissa, it should be user friendly. Like you want to build that presence and that reputation, but if it's not a good experience, that could go bad. So yeah, you want to seem like a professional and have a presence online due to COVID and digital age. But if it's not meeting the goals or it's a little clunky, a user can't easily sign up to your email list or can't easily see the offerings that you have, it could also do the opposite and give it a negative effect. So if you're going to take the time to do it when you feel like it's ready, it should be done well in order to get a positive impression. Especially during COVID, we're not going out and about meeting people like you said, it's through online. So that's the first impression that they would get. And if it's not great, then they may not come back, unfortunately. So I think kind of like touching on what everyone's already said is like figure out the why, figure out the what your audience wants from you. Is it to build a reputation? Is it to learn about offerings that you have? Make sure that part on your site is really like shining. You want to sell it. You want to make sure that whatever you're going to do to create that revenue is easy for your users on your site.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So if you want to use your website to make the first impression, make sure it makes a good first impression, not half-baked or
right.
uncertain of what exactly your calls to action are, because a lot of people, we work with a lot of businesses and you go on their website and it's done beautifully and there are visuals and everything, but then you're like, what exactly do they do? You can't find any button like buy, book, order. And you're like, they clearly put a lot of work and effort and creativity into their website, but it doesn't generate the traffic they want to. So sometimes you get carried away by, the impression itself.
Yeah, and it definitely links out to other things. So the experience may not be just what's on your website, like your actual domain. It's like, how is this syncing with your social media and marketing channels? Like, how is this syncing with your massage therapist insurance site? You know what I mean? Like, how are you connecting all these different pieces together? Like, holistically, that's the experience you want to make sure is kind of smooth for your particular audience.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I wanted to ask Sarah, since now we know your little secret that you used to work in branding and user experience, and now you work with people who might have or not have websites. What's your opinion? Do you recommend that your clients get a website as soon as possible, or do you tell them to, watch out and not fall into the trap of being too hasty.
Yes. Okay. So, like I said earlier, I work primarily with early stage entrepreneurs. So you're more in the beginning. So that's where all of my thoughts are going to be directed to. Listen, in 2021, anybody can pay to look like an expert. Anybody can beef themselves up in such a way to look like an expert. That is not the same thing as being an expert. It is not the same thing as being able to give your customers what they want. So, what I teach my clients is in the early stages of your business, the most important thing is to build up the most important asset of your business, which is your expertise. Your ability to understand what your customers want, what their problems are, and how to solve it for them. In order to come to that expertise, building a website is usually not the thing that's going to do it. The only exception I would say is if you want to time box creating a website yourself, like writing the copy for it to help yourself understand with further clarity exactly how to articulate what you're doing. But 9 times out of 10, you don't even need that. And I would recommend finding your potential customers or interacting with people in the world, talking with them, listening to them, making offers to help them, making offers to give them something, or inviting them into your world and into your orbit, and actually building your expertise, building your ability to serve others, rather than investing in looking like the person who can serve others. And the way that still applies to a product-based business, what I just said, if you're a service provider, you may be going, yes, okay, Sarah, yes, agree. Your product-based business, you may be wondering, Sarah, how do I do that? I can't just like walk into a networking event and give somebody my potpourri. I mean, I would take it, but maybe not everybody else.
You can.
Yeah, you can. Okay, everybody in this call, if you want to give any of us potpourri, we're down. Go where your potential customers are already hanging out online and build a website presence there if you're just getting started. So like, for example, when, like I said, I'm a multiple times entrepreneur, I used to have a vegan hot chocolates brand. I did create a website and I also built an Etsy presence. And especially towards the beginning, I got all of my sales from the Etsy presence because the people looking for what I had to offer were already built into that community.
Right there.
Yeah, so that's where I'd recommend you start if you're a product-based business too.
Yeah, it's a good idea to see where people usually shop before you do it, because you can invest a lot into having your own page, your personal page, but then if you don't know how to drive people to it, then it's a little bit of a waste. And I wanted to ask Lori, you do branding in general and websites in particular. So what are your best practices when you consult your clients?
It's always finding out where they are, what their needs are, what their goals are, and most importantly, what their budget is. Whenever you're building a business, especially from the ground up, which most of my clients are, they're just starting out, it's not about doing things exactly right. It's about doing the best that you can with the resources that you have at your disposal. And so it's one of those things where it's like, do you need a website right now? Do you need a, several $1,000 branding package right now? Or do you need something that will get you started so that you can step up into something that will work later down the road? And so for every single client, that's a little bit different, but it always starts with asking really pointed questions about where you are, what you want, and what you need. And some of it is a bit psychological. Some of my clients do need a website to feel legitimate so that they can feel empowered to build their business. Some of my clients don't. Some of my clients need a good Instagram strategy in order to sell on social media before they even move to a website. And so it's just about asking the right questions and finding out where people are and tailoring those solutions to their wants and needs to get them to where they need to be later on in their business journey.
Mm-hmm. Being flexible and first looking at what you want to achieve with it.
Exactly. And a lot of times it's also about making sure that you build in the right direction. Like if you don't have a firm idea of your services, if you don't have a firm concept of who you are as a brand, those things probably need to be nailed down before you move to the website design phase. And so just kind of like feeling out where people are and getting them to build those blocks that they need at the very beginning so that they can get to what they need later on.
Mm-hmm. I think it's so interesting, Laura and Liz, that you both mentioned the whole building a website for psychological impact for the person starting the business, because a lot of times they're scared to jump. They're scared to leave their 9-to-5er. They're like, I can't do this. Who am I? Like, to go start this own business. But if it helps you get to that phase to say, yes, this is real. Yes, I'm going to do it. For you, that own encouragement is a good reason to kind of get started. And then once you're at that phase, you're like, I am doing this. I am going to move forward. You take in all these other experts, marketing, the SEO, the brand coach, and then you like really drive it, make it happen, make it work. But sometimes you need that little kick.
Yeah, and one of the things that Lori and I have in common, Lori and I know each other, we both come from a strategic place. So I can really see, Sarah, what the trajectory of your career, because you were probably doing a lot of coaching as a brand designer. I know Lori and I do. We don't just say, oh, you want a website? Okay, here it is. We do a lot of strategy along the way to make sure that we're delivering something that's really going to be meaningful. And we don't just, take your money and give you your website. It's more of a collaboration and it's a process. And there is a lot of psychological stuff that goes into it. So I think we all know that.
Yeah, I also believe that your clients wouldn't be happy if you made a website for them and then they're like, well, 6 months passed and I haven't earned my $1 million. What, Liz did something wrong. It's not working. So they need to have correct expectations. It's just one of the tools. It has to be in combination with other things too. And actually, I wanted to ask our design team because for many people, they know obviously the difference, but I heard people using the word website and landing page interchangeably. So once and for all, what's the difference? Who wants to tackle that one? Lori?
A landing page is usually just a very simple one page that can collect information or gives a very brief description of you and your company. So for some of my clients, they're ready to start moving forward with their website, but there still needs to be some elements that we put together. So we'll actually do a soft launch where we'll put up a landing page, especially if they have other marketing endeavors that need to launch immediately. We'll create a landing page where people can see their branding, see who they are, maybe give their information or give a brief description of their services. And that will kind of act as like a stand-in until they can actually put up a regular website. Especially for service-based businesses, if one of your main goals for your website is having somewhere where people can contact you, having a very simple landing page with just your information and an information capture form is really, really helpful for those types of businesses. Whereas a regular website is going to have full functionality, a lot of times multiple pages, and a lot more complex elements and content.
You said that so much better than I would have.
I'm sitting here like, I'm trying to take notes on what she's saying.
I think
you were supposed to say, I thought the same thing. She just stole my words.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Lori taught her everything she knows. Just kidding.
I was just going to add one thing.
Sorry,
I think the importance of a landing page, I think, especially when, our business, we work with like established businesses. So Sarah and I are like on opposite ends of the spectrum. But I think what I would want to tell any like new entrepreneur is like the landing page is totally where you can start and collect email addresses all day long. I actually think building out your email list is the long game, and that's something you're going to do for years within your business. And I actually think if you can start with a landing page, and even if you've been in business for 5 years and you don't have an email list, like you would start with a landing page versus a website. And I think like that is something I'm like super passionate about, is like building out the email list and leveraging that to grow your business versus thinking people are going to stumble upon your website. I think you can communicate with people in like more real time and really get to like share your voice via email. And so that is like my opinion on like how to really leverage a website or a landing page is like grow that email list.
Oh, yeah. We talked about it in one of our previous webinars. It was about your social media strategy. And a lot of people said, I think Lori also contributed to that one, that it's important to have a mailing list and not just rely on your Instagram following or whatever platform you're using, because putting all your eggs in one basket is tough. And email is the ultimate way you can get in touch with your audience and personalize it and customize it the way you want. So yeah, it's very valuable advice. And I saw that a lot of websites they don't put any mailing list or newsletter. Should you put out the form for collecting emails if you're not, for example, your team can't handle creating newsletters for now, and people sign up and they don't hear from you? Should you still collect their emails ahead of time, or should you wait till you actually start sending out mail-in notifications or letters?
Do you want me to answer that, or
Let's
I'd allow anyone else to answer that? I have my own opinion.
Yeah, like whoever wants to. I want to know the answer, and someone has to answer.
I have an opinion on this as well.
Sarah?
So if you want to go, Danielle, and then I go.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to be a priority. I think like connecting with your email list has to be a priority. It's such a secret way to grow your business because people get to hear from you. And so I think we probably overcomplicate like a newsletter, but I think sending like something, we have clients that send like one email a month. We also have clients that and I send like 1 to 2 a week. And so it gets to be, the cadence gets to be whatever you want it to be. But I think if you can start at least sending something once a month, obviously increasing the cadence, but I think it has to be a priority. And think about it, instead of like creating this grand newsletter, think of it as like you could repurpose content. So if you've got social content, repurpose that. If you have, you're hosting this webinar, like that could be an email. It doesn't need to be individual content that somebody needs to be like copywriting and like creating this beautifully packaged email. I think what can be really simplified down is like people want to hear from another human. And so if you can talk to as if there's another human receiving the email, it can be something that you write rather quickly. I'd like to say I've like planned my emails. I literally write them the morning I send it because I want it to be like authentic and in the moment. So that's my opinion.
That's the little human touch there, is a little writing it to someone.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not the way that I look at email marketing. It's not just like writing it to one person too, but you're really writing it for your buyer's journey, And so I feel like a lot of my clients miss this mark. And so where it's like, okay, you're reaching them where they're learning about your brand, right? So you can send out emails when you're getting those first initial contacts, like, hey, this is our brand, this is what we're about. And then you get people that are in those like interest phase where, okay, I'm really interested in your product. I want to learn more about what your services are, what you offer, and then action. Like if they need kind of like a push into actually purchasing your services or your product, then you do like a 20% off email or whatever, but there's different emails for different levels of the buyer's journey. And so that's something that I feel like it's a huge education moment for a lot of people that are kind of nervous about getting into email marketing, or, it's like, just stick with your buyer's journey. If you're not comfortable with creating content for a newsletter, but start somewhere, getting in front of those people, building your brand, building your products and services. That's where email marketing can really help guide them through to being long-term customers.
Something I want to add on this.
I see that we already.
Something that I want to add on this too is a concept for everybody listening in. Always building demand. So for every entrepreneur, you must get comfortable getting the foundation started before you feel totally ready. So if you're telling yourself, like, I agree with everything that Danielle and Krista was saying, like repurpose your social content, once you're more comfortable with that, start thinking about your buyer's journey. But really, like, you need to remember people want to build a relationship with your business, not just based on the particular thing you have on the menu du jour, not just based on the particular thing you have today. They are building a relationship with you and your business, and they're trusting your expertise and also the quality of what you can deliver and what you can provide over the lifetime of your business. So approach, like, put that link on your landing page, even if you don't know what you're going to put in your emails yet. Like, join my email list, just start there, because people are going to click that button not because of the thing you're going to give in the emails. They may eventually, but like, long game of your business, like, people are going to want to hear from you because of you. Nobody is out here like signing up to hear about Beyonce's next album drop because they want to hear Lemonade. It's because they care about Beyonce. They trust that whatever Beyonce's going to put out there, it's going to be fire. So yeah, like, put up that link, start collecting emails even before you feel like you're ready.
Yeah.
It might also be a good tracking system for you to see if you put out some content, maybe on your social media, and then you see several people sign up for your newsletter. That's probably a good sign that you engage your audience and they want to hear more. So, or maybe it was just an accident, but to me it works. So it might help. The more you hear from your audience, the better.
Right.
Let's
Can I add one more
try
thing?
giving some. Jennifer,
Yeah, just kind of going along
yes,
the
of
lines
course.
of the buyer journey, just kind of diving that a little bit more what that means for you guys. It's like, once you understand who your user audience is, like, what are they wanting? Like, from the beginning of like understanding they want something to the end of getting that thing, the service, whatever it is, like, what are the things that they're going to think about along that journey to make that decision? And if you kind of really understand who your ideal client is, what's the whole journey look like for them, and break it down of like, in each phase, is there something I can nourish them? Like, in the intro research phase of a product, is there something I can give them, like a freebie or like guidance to help them make a decision? And then once they like made a decision, is there like an intro, like a consultant kind of step, or like a little trial and error kind of phase? Understanding that full journey and how you can help along the way will really create a good user experience, and kind of like tie in the marketing and tie in the SEO words based on what they need to do. When you can really spend the time doing that, I think that's when you're really going to start moving the needle and driving and attracting the people that are going to be your ideal client.
Mm-hmm. Put yourself in your client's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And more of a mentality, not I want to sell my products, but the mentality of why should people want to buy them from me,
Mm-hmm.
which is sometimes hard because we all know our why behind why we're doing this business. We
Right.
want to make money, but if we just go out and be like, buy my products because I need to make money, I need to pay my rent this month, nobody's gonna answer to that.
Right, because you're helping someone
that's
something for themselves, like accomplishing a goal for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the idea of repurposing marketing. I have an extensive marketing background as well. And it's always like the rule of 3, right? How can you take one thing and repurpose it in 3 different ways and get all the leverage out of it?
Yep.
Recycling, that's a very big trend now. Evergreen content. And let's give some recommendations to people who have different kinds of businesses. We mentioned retail product-based businesses and service-based, and they might have completely different needs. So what would be your, let's talk first about products. So what platform, what level of investment, what pitfalls and benefits people get from getting a website. Who would like to start? Then I'll pick. I know you don't want to talk about it. Liz, do you have anyone in your client database who sells products?
Yeah, the reason I didn't volunteer is because I specialize in service-based businesses. But you asked about platforms, and I think you said investment. It can vary like wildly, the investment.
Mm-hmm.
You can get somebody to set up a website for you for a couple $100. I wouldn't recommend that, but you can probably find somebody. And then of course you can invest tens of thousands of dollars in your website. There are a lot of platforms. that you can use. Shopify is really popular, and a lot of people are using Show It and incorporating Shopify. Squarespace has come a long way in e-commerce. I love Squarespace. That's what I specialize in. But when I have clients who want e-commerce, I used to steer them away from it. And now I'm starting to say, oh, actually, Squarespace is coming up in the world. And since Squarespace is so incredibly user-friendly, I like to train all my clients, and it sounds really intimidating, but I like to train my clients to be able to go in and make changes in their website so that they don't have to hire a developer, hire me every time they want to make changes, which should be often because your website is a living, breathing thing. And if you have products, you're always going to be adding and changing new products. You need to be empowered to be able to get in there and work it. So yeah, product-based businesses, you've got a lot of options. We all have a lot of options for product and service-based businesses,
But would you recommend people going for existing platforms, like you mentioned, Shopify, Squarespace, or trying to build something from scratch? Because e-commerce is probably one of the most complicated types of websites.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I don't specialize in e-commerce. I specialize in service-based, but unless you have a lot of capital to invest in a platform, like in building your own from scratch, and unless you are also going to hire a developer to be on your team, I think that most of the people that we're talking to at this webinar are not at that level, I'm assuming. And platform that is user friendly that you can get your hands in, like Shopify or Squarespace or Show It. Those are the three that I sort of have the most faith.
I'm also going to say, you know, as somebody who owned a product-based business for about 2 years, I really recommend you can build your own business. I mean, you can build your own website, but make sure you also build a presence in a pre-existing community that already has eyeballs and traffic of people looking for what you are selling.
Yeah.
You can build your own website. The reason why I did it was I was like, okay, in case Etsy explodes, like in case Etsy falls off the planet, I still want to have a website where my products are for sale that I can direct people to. But when you build a presence on a pre-existing place like Etsy, Society6, even Instagram, like people they're already shopping mentally. They're already warmed up. Their hand is already partially on their wallet. And when they're in that warm space, you wanna offer them your beautiful thing so that they can get it, feeling warm and good and urgent with shopping already on the brain. Versus trying to like, you know, and I'm sure Carissa, Carissa probably has plenty of things to say about the SEO side of it, helping you attract that like warm buyer directly from a search engine. But if you're just getting started, like, you know, this is what I did. I became like an Etsy SEO master for Etsy 2015. Like ask me how to get found on Etsy in 2015. I can teach you because I like mastered that mini SEO for that platform. And that's how I really started to build up my own sales for my product-based business.
That's awesome.
I'm a website designer.
Only for 2015.
I have an Etsy. Like I sell website templates on my website, but also on Etsy because exactly what you just said.
Well, because it's a product. It's a digital product.
Yeah, and people are
it
there
has
looking
visual
for it.
presence. So
yeah, so it's a great tip.
So Carissa, Sarah just called you out, so you have to answer.
I know. I was like, great. Thanks, Sarah. Yes. So econ is a monster when it comes to SEO because it's product based. And so unless like I have, you know, people in our field have dealt with like CBD type businesses, right? So CBD is a generic product. But when you're selling like individualized products, a lot of times you have to build the keywords into those product pages or whatever page you're wanting to put in front of people. So Google can match you with the person that's looking for that specific product. So if you're somebody that has, you know, 1,000 pages of product, you know, your SEO is going to have to be, it's going to be a long process. But if you can kind of narrow in to find the keywords that people are searching for and put that on your homepage and just rank your homepage, getting people to your homepage is what's going to be the goal. And so with ecom, I see a lot of times people with ecom websites is you open up the ecom and right away it's product, here's the pricing, and there's not really much content on what your business is, who you are, what you're selling, what type of products you have, and then finding those global keywords that bring those buyers to you, and then they can kind of skim further on. So with ecom, it's still the same concept of having a website. We still want to know what your brand is, who you are, what you're selling. The story, we still want to know your story and still have those keywords built into it. So yes, with SEO, it's definitely still super important to have that information, even if it's like a landing page, if it's ecom, if it's service based, no matter what, like that content still has to be there. Content is so important, and it doesn't need to be extremely wordy. I mean, Google does like to see some content on there because they're putting people in front of you as the expert in your business, right? So the content still needs to be there, but it needs to also be there for the client that you're looking for and for Google. So that's kind of the two things. If you are investing in SEO and wanting to get in front of those people, you're going to have to understand that your website is going to be catered to Google in a sense, to put in front of Google what they're looking for. So that's kind of I do like to gear towards service-based industry just for that reason, just because ecom, it's a pain to work with sometimes with SEO. So yeah, I do tend to gear more towards service-based industries, but there are markets for ecom and there is opportunity for ecom. And it really just is a case-by-case basis.
That's interesting that a lot of experts here work for service-based industries, because you'd think that if you have products that provide good visuals that you can just show people, it's easier to market it and to display it. While a lot of services, it's really hard to get anything to show online. So what are the pro tips for people who have services and their services are not visual at all? Maybe if you're doing coaching, consulting, some I don't know, lawyers, or I don't know, anything that doesn't come up with a pretty picture after the procedure.
Yeah.
Who would like to start?
I like that. It's that's where I like to come in, because it is hard. That's really interesting to hear about the SEO being like a beast for product based. That makes total sense. For service based business owners, the challenge really is getting your value across to your potential clients. So you can't just say, I'm here and this is what I do. You have to really, when you're getting into your website copywriting and the design and flow of the website, be able to communicate that value to the potential clients. And I know that this is a buzzword, but the transformation. So really help your potential client see that you understand where they are now. You have to identify them. And that's why it's so important to understand who your ideal client is and who you want to be speaking to, and speak directly to them, so that when they see your website and they're skimming it, because nobody's reading it, they're skimming it, and they're saying, whoa, that's me, she's talking to me. And show them, I see you, I know where you are now, I'm going to get you to this place, and this is how. So it's really about communicating that value, making sure that that ideal client feels called out right from the jump. A lot of people have heard this too, but you have seconds from when somebody clicks onto your website to get and hold their attention. So that first impression is really important. There's a lot of strategy that goes into building the actual website once you've made the decision that that's something that you're going to do. It can't just be, here's who I am and please hire me. There's a lot of thought that goes into it.
100%. I feel like we're all just nodding here.
I was going to say
Yep.
for service-based businesses, branding is so important compared to product-based. You really need to get clear about who you are, what you offer, what your value is, and who your target audience is. And all of that comes out in your branding, your copywriting, the UX design that you use to have a cohesive experience, because you want everything to feel very solid so that whenever people go to your website, they know exactly who you are and what they can expect. Especially because as a service-based business and an individual, you are tailored very specifically for certain people and you won't be for other people because it's just that's how the business works. And so you want to make sure that you're sort of calling out to the people who would resonate the best with you and benefit from your services to make sure that you're kind of like bringing in the target audience that you'd like.
I just want to offer, because I love what you said, both Liz and Lori, like really make sure that you're showing the value. We all know we hear this word value a lot. And if you're like me, when I first started offering a service-based business, I was like, F is value. What is value? Can I go to Costco and get like a great value? Like, what is value? So I just want to offer, think of value as a maximum usefulness. Are you communicating what you're doing in a way that shows you are useful to the exact person you want to work with?
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I like that about I go to Costco and get value, like bulk package of 20
The
boxes
value
of
packs.
value. Yeah, a lot of people use it, but unfortunately, it's all about buzzwords or keywords, but people don't actually put the thought into it, which is important. And I wanted to ask Danielle, since she works a lot with established businesses, maybe you don't consult them on their technical side of their websites, but what's your impression about their online presence when you see that they're succeeding? Could you describe like what it should look like, what association it causes, and maybe like in simple words, what it does for you when you look and you're like, yeah, they're doing a great job.
When like our clients have like a website, is that what you're asking?
Yeah. So even if you personally don't design websites, but you evaluate their strategy and you think they're doing a good job or they should work on their websites.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely do like a website audit, and I call it that just to make sure like what I think is on their website should be there. But I am like not a website expert. I'm like not a branding expert. And we're not an agency. So it's really great that we've got a lot of really smart women on this call, because what I do in my job is when I look at our clients' websites or prospect clients, I then pull the levers of like, have you really leveraged SEO? Well, I know a really great person, Carissa. Like that's kind of how we work in our business. I'll never like employ a team of like UX designers and SEO specialists, but I love pulling levers when I look at what clients potentially need. I think one of the things, even for like established businesses, obviously they have websites, and I'm always looking at, and we've touched this a ton in here, but I'm always looking at how are you not only telling your story, but also how are you relating it to like that future client or the person that you want to buy. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And also, we've had clients do this. This is kind of why it's top of mind. I've gone through a client's website and there were no pictures of her. And she sells a service-based business. And so if I was, found her website or looking at potentially working with her, and I'm going to allow her, it was personal training services. And if I'm going to allow this person to like come in my home and train me, I'd like to know like what they look like and hear about their story. And so I think regardless of whether you've got like a product or a service-based business, I think it's so important to obviously show your face and tell your story. And I think it allows people to connect with you on a deeper level. So that's kind of where my brain went to with like experienced business owners. They might, and when I say experienced, doesn't mean they've been in business for like 15 years. It just means their business is generating typically multiple six figures. And so that takes some people, 1 year, that takes others 5 years. And so we typically focus more on like revenue for like experience. When I say like experienced versus it's not timing for me, but yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
It does. And so you say that at this level, when they're generating this income, they usually all have websites.
I don't want to like say yes. I'm like thinking through. Yes, yes, they all do. All of our clients have websites. Because again, they've got like who we work with, they've got like proven products or services. People are buying what they are selling. And so they do have, and they typically have, our clients have like teams. So they've got like a website and like a branding like team. They've got people that are doing that work for them. Some of them do like hire out, like I mentioned, but one question I want to pose to this group of women too is like what I was really unaware of is how often you have to update your website. Like people think like, oh, I built my website. Cool. Everyone look at my pretty website. I don't know if it's just me, but we update our website all the time. And if you go to our website right now, it's definitely out of date. Like we have things that we need to update. And so I'd love, and this is like probably like music to like y'all's ears. It's like an ongoing thing you constantly need. So
that's why I love
so it's not enough to just create it.
Well, a great website is going to do a lot of work for you while you sleep. Like a great website, and if you're an established business, is going to perform without a whole lot of interaction on your part. But because most of these service-based businesses are always evolving, I want you to be able to access the information that you're putting out there. I want you to be able to tweak your offer. And I also want you to be able to tweak your SEO. Like I want you to be able to tweak your headline or contribute to your own blog. Like I want you to be able to know how to get in there and make changes so that your website can evolve with you, because most likely you're evolving. Yes. Say evolving one more time. Evolve.
I was gonna say
it's important for you to have an idea and being able to put it. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I loved what Liz said earlier about providing training and giving people access to their back end. That's something I'm very passionate about, is making sure that small business owners have ownership of their website and also have the tools necessary to make updates, and they don't feel locked in with a website designer. If you don't have the resources to pay someone to constantly update or upkeep or do things, it's so important for you to have ownership of that thing that you paid for. That's this huge resource for you. And so I love that that's something that website designers are doing now, is making sure that like, hey, this is yours. This is how you can do it on your own. I'm happy to help if you don't want to do it, but in case you don't have the resources or time or something else, you can handle it on your own.
Yeah.
It's so important, because I had experience before working for a company that had custom coded website for e-commerce. It was this huge, very, very expensive thing, but it was so fragile because you couldn't do anything. You didn't have any user interface, so you had to be the coder who made it. And we kind of were enslaved by this person, because if we needed to put up some flash sale or something and they were unavailable, we couldn't do it. And it was like, we paid so much for this custom thing. We should have used a template or something where we can actually change things. So it's another thing, like custom websites, scary.
Well, if they're created with the
Sorry
user,
if I
they
interrupted.
don't have to be. Like I custom code all my websites, but I make sure, there's a way to do it so that it's not going to impose itself on any of the changes you can make. Like, I don't want to get too technical, but like there's a way to have a custom coded website that you can still access and get into, and you don't have to touch the code. Please don't, actually.
That's great news.
I
Not
love
that anyone wants to.
Lori, the customization, because as you like move along your journey and really find out what your audience wants and like fine tune your niche, I feel like that's where you're going to really start growing. Like you take this general idea of I want to sell this and this service. Once you start fine tuning and customizing your experience for your audience and your own business, that's where you're really going to shine. You find that little specific niche and you can meet that goal. So having you ladies available to kind of guide them through that, I think helps alleviate some of that burden of, I can't afford a full-time developer, or, I don't know how to do this myself. So it's nice to have.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I feel like that describes all of us.
And so Jennifer,
like me, like I'm always, we're probably all in the same boat. We're always redefining what we're doing.
100%. And it's scary. I mean, when my first website launched, I had photography, like graphic design, web design. Like the more I would shut off certain things from my portfolio, I was getting more business. And it was super scary to do that. Once I was like, no, I'm focusing on UX now. Like, it's just like people see you as that expert for that one thing versus like a generalist to do all things. Like, I want to see Sarah, she's a business expert. Carissa, she's an SEO expert. You know, you have that one thing you focus on, and that's what people are going to think of when they go to you. Finding
Yeah,
that.
you want to be top of mind for like one thing that you're good at. Like when people hear your name, they're like, oh, she's really good at this.
Yep.
Like as soon as you can do that, like I just was saying, like when people come to me and they're like, do you know anyone that does SEO? Like I have like people that I list. I'm now adding Carissa to that. Do you know what I mean? Like that's kind of how referrals are really important. You don't want to be like, you know, I think Jennifer's good at everything.
Right.
And Jennifer might be.
Yeah, because that always ruins your trust when people like, I'm good at everything. I can do it all. People like, okay, I'll go to someone else. So yeah, I have the question for Jennifer. You look at other people's websites and you clearly see more than a user on average sees, like analyzes. So what would be the red flags when you look at someone's website and you're like, oh, they're messing up this thing here? That's a clear sign that it's not working the way they want to.
Yeah. A lot of times the work that I do starts behind the scenes. So a client, I work for small startups who are about to launch a new product, a new app that they have to develop a prototype to get investors on. I'll work with large enterprise clients who've been growing really fast, really rapidly, and they don't have a chance to stop back and say, okay, are we still focusing on the right users we need to focus on? Or those who want to revamp their entire website. So it starts with the why are they doing it and understanding who those new users may be and doing a lot of user research and figuring out, like talking to them, like what are their goals? What are the frustrations that they have? What are they trying to accomplish? And then I go back to the website and say, okay, is the website doing that? Is it doing X, Y, Z? And if it's not, like what's our game plan to create that? And that's when we bring in all these ladies in and kind of make that happen for them.
So it's always teamwork. It's not, you don't find one magician who's like, okay, I'll just make this button red and now the business is.
Yeah, it is teamwork. And there is some details with just like stuff like that, like just a specific color. So there's accessibility. You know, everything, we're trying to make everything inclusive and accessible. There's a lot of people with, they can't see certain colors or they can't, they're blind. So how do we make websites accessible to them? And then when you put your alt text behind it, that helps them switch off a mode on their end so they can read it. They can see certain contrasting colors together. If there's a lot of contrast, they can actually read the words on your screen. So we do a lot of accessibility tests to make sure your design meets those standards and that everyone can view it and have the same experience as someone who can see every color in the rainbow.
Yeah, that's something people should think about more than probably just the impression they have in their head. They need to know that everyone is getting the message. And now that we, like, say we all have a website, and how do we promote it? Because as we concluded, it's just a tool that works in combination with other factors. You need to drive traffic, you need to create a brand awareness. So how do we do it? What would be your one tip per person to promote it globally or locally, depending on your business? I'd like to start with Lori.
Sure. The best marketing is as many different combinations of marketing that work for your niche as possible. So it's not just about doing one thing, it's about doing as many things that are targeted towards your target audience as possible that are all going to work together to bring people to your website. So social media is usually a very effective marketing outlet for a lot of different people, but it's going to depend on your target audience. But you basically just want to get it to as many people in as many places as possible. So including it in your email signature, including it in your bio on your Instagram and Facebook, putting it on a business card if a business card is a part of your particular business niche, as many places you can put it, including making sure that you have a Google listing. Anywhere that you can put it where people will find you is really going to be the most beneficial. And then also Facebook groups. Go into Facebook groups, and if people are asking for your services, link to your website and start generating traffic that way. And then if you do have it in your budget to actually do digital advertising, digital marketing, or to do paid, then that's another way that you can start to get people into your website and blast it out to a broader audience.
That's a great tip. Let's go in reverse order. Let's go to Sarah.
It's so funny. Driving traffic to your website. Well, like I said, for most of my clients that I work with, like I recommend that they don't start out with their website right off of that from the beginning. I would really encourage you to think about why. I mean, I think that if you create something like really useful for folks to bring them to your website, like why would they want to come to your website? I think that could be really helpful. Like what you were saying, Lori, about including your URL and your email signature and all these other places where you're showing up. I think that's a great thing to do to cater to folks who are curious about you. Um, Another approach could be if you want like more of the landing page approach that Danielle was talking about earlier. Like if you wanted to create, say, a guide or like just some type of free resource, a guide, an online video lesson, that's pre-recorded, some type of freebie, some type of thing that can be helpful and of service to the person you're trying to reach. That could be another great thing to offer to people in those Facebook groups, in your email signature, that will give a compelling reason for people to come to your website in the first place. And then if they're curious beyond that, they can continue to click around. Or if you just have the landing page, then they can consume your free resource. And then if you provide a way to further engage with you, to inquire about your services, then that's how a website or a landing page can work really effectively in your user journey.
Thank you. Jennifer.
So the question is how to best market your website?
Yeah, just one final tip. We're running out of time, so everyone gives a little tip on how to promote it once you have it.
Agree to what a lot of Lori and what Sarah said. It's just really who's your user and what do they really want and how can you service them? Figure out that one thing, make sure to tie that in the website. It can be in different ways and it's different for each audience. So once you have that little formula, make sure you do that one thing.
Thank you. Carissa?
So for me, I think the biggest ways to get people to your website is through content. And content can be formatted in so many different ways on social media. You can have infographics, you can have, blogs, videos. There's so many different avenues of content that you can curate to get people to want to know more information about you, your brand, and then go have links to your site. So for me, the biggest way that I see traffic going to people's sites is through content. And who are you going after? If you're targeting business owners, I mean, Facebook is great, but is that where business owners like naturally migrate to? Or could LinkedIn be a better demographic for you, since most of those people on there are business owners or in business or talking about business? So again, it's knowing what each social channel can offer and then curating content that's going to be targeted to your specific client, what do they call it, client persona. So whoever that person is, curating content to them that's going to navigate them to move to that next step to get to your website.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Liz?
Same as Carissa. She just nailed it to me. Like that's what it is. It's knowing who you want to come to your website, knowing where they are, and catering to them, and content. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of blogging, and we all know the power of Instagram. I think all of us do. So I'll speak on all of you. You all know the power.
Yeah, so put in some work and content to bring people in. And Danielle?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the secret sauce. I think, we can talk about building websites, but what's really important is getting people there. And the only way people are going to get there is if you are talking about and creating things that people want, so that they can go and then find them wherever they live. So that's going to live on your website. And so by doing that, you've got to have relevant, really valuable content.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So everyone can make their own conclusions. There is not one answer, and don't feel shame if you don't have a website yet. Maybe you're not ready yet. And if you want to have it, then make sure you think it through and address the correct audience. I want to thank all of our speakers today. This has been amazing. Thank you so much. And I encourage all of our viewers to reach out to you personally if they have questions about your field of expertise. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.